Hey folks, Jason, Painfully Honest Tech, here to talk to you about my first week with the Apple iMac 24-inch with the M1 chip. So let's get straight to it. Hey there friends on YouTube, my name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech, so honest it hurts. If this is your first time here, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, bell notify yourself so you know when more videos are coming out. But today, people, we have to talk about my first week with the M1 iMac. And honestly, this is kind of a weird product to review for me. I mean, I've used just about every iMac there is to use, and generally, I have always liked the iMacs, and this iMac is no different, but there's something about the M1 Apple computers that is starting to get a little weird for me. Now, let me explain. So last year, Apple released the first batch of M1 Macs. We had the Mac Mini, we had the MacBook Air, we had the MacBook Pro 13-inch, and they all had the same chip inside. Slight differences between all of them, but basically all the same internals. The M1 MacBook Air had one fewer graphics core in the base model, but otherwise they're pretty much the same. When Apple announced this computer, they then had 5 different machines that all have basically the same hardware inside. So how do you choose? Now, let's talk about what this iMac is. This iMac has a 24-inch screen. It has a 4.5K display. The base model starts at $1299 and it has 2 USB-C/Thunderport 3 ports on the back. And what we found out recently is that it only has one fan, so it's different than this machine and others. And that seems to be affecting the performance. Now, that's not the case with some of the other iMacs that are out there, so we're seeing a little bit of a difference. But this one that I have here is the $1499 model. It has 4 ports on the back, 2 Thunderbolt ports that also have USB-C 4, as well as 2 USB-C 4 ports. It has Ethernet on the charging brick. It has a Touch ID on the keyboard, which is a brand new thing. It's and all of the keyboards and mice and everything like that are color-coded with the machines. And I guess this is the point where we should talk about the fact that there are many colors. The base model comes in 4 different colors, and then the rest of the models come in, I believe, 6 different colors. I'll put the colors up here on the screen so you can take a look at them. I got the blue model. The blue model is the one that Apple's been showing the most, and I figured I would at least get a blue model to show what the colors look like. But the truth of the matter is, I kind of hate it. No matter what I do, it doesn't match anything that exists here on my desk, and there's nothing that I can do to fix that. If I had my druthers, I would have bought a silver one because that's the only sort of neutral color that they offer. And, you know, I didn't because I wanted to have something to show you guys that showed off at least one of the colors. So, they come in colors, 4.5K screen, M1 chip. Other than the base model, everything is pretty much the same. For $1499, you get 256 gigabytes of storage. For $1699, you get 512 gigabytes of storage. You can get storage expanded all the way up to 2 terabytes, and you can get 8 or 16 gigabytes of memory. All the regular models come with the 8 gigabytes of memory, and you can get the 16 added. But I found, you know, for my use, when I've used these M1 machines, that I haven't noticed a ton of difference between 8 and 16 gigabytes. These new M1 machines are a complete paradigm shift from what we've known from Apple before. This thing has a brand new design. It's slim. It's basically like a 24-inch iPad on a stick. It's very light. Don't let your dog run into the cable or anything. The computer itself is too slim for a power supply, so the power supply is like a laptop power supply. That's where the Ethernet port is because the computer's not deep enough to have an Ethernet port on it anywhere. The headphone jack is on the left side because the computer is too thin to have a headphone jack. It's an impressive piece of design when you think of it in those terms, and it's a really slick-looking computer because of it. There's nothing quite like this out on the market anywhere. So the M1 24-inch iMac is a very impressive computer in its own right, but there's one problem. I got this computer last Tuesday. It's Wednesday, the 2nd of June right now. Last Tuesday it came to me. I unboxed it. It was really cool. They have new boxes. The new boxes open like origami pizza boxes or something. You have to lay it down and open it up, and then anyway, the unboxing experience always great with an Apple product. So I got it out of the box. I put it on the desk. I signed into everything, and then I downloaded some stuff, and I was done. I was done. There was nothing else really to do. And there's something, maybe it's just like the computer geek in me, but I love to have like, new bells and whistles and like, hot rodded specs and those kinds of things to talk about. But there's nothing like that really to talk about with the M1 iMac. It is, for all intents and purposes, a very competent, somewhat boring computer. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, Steve Jobs always said that he wanted the Macs to be kind of a computing appliance for, people in their homes. Just like you have a refrigerator, an oven, a microwave, a toaster, whatever. Steve Jobs wanted the Mac to be sort of like the computing appliance that everybody can use in their home. And I think over the years, we've gotten there, because this thing is no muss, no fuss. It just hooks up. It just works. If you have a heavy workload, if you do video editing, if you do audio, if you do CAD work, or you're compiling code, or any of those kinds of heavier lifting sorts of things, this computer will do it. Now, you might want to wait to see what they come out with later. They have an event next week, WWDC. There's always rumors of new hardware. They still don't have a 16-inch MacBook Pro with this new M1 architecture in it, nor do they have a larger iMac version with this new architecture in it. And then the Mac Pro is, whatever the Mac Pro is. We're basically 1 year into a 2-year cycle of Apple turning over all of their computer products to the M1 architecture, or the M series architecture. We don't know if the more professional models are going to be an M1X or an M2 or something more expanded or more powerful. These computers, that's the thing. They are very, very powerful compared to the models that came before, compared to other models in the same price range of say, PCs or something like that. These computers will do just about anything that 99% of everyone wants them to do. If you wanted to run a business off of this, you could. They've improved the webcam to 1080p, finally. I mean, it's been how many years with an iMac and no 1080p webcam, but now they have it. They've improved the speakers. They've improved the microphone. And I'm going to do a video where I do maybe some music recording with the microphones that they claim to be studio quality. I don't know how much we can take stock in that, but I'm going to do a video with the microphones and the webcam. So if you are not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe for that, because that'll be an interesting test of how good the webcam and the microphone are. If you are an audio person, word of warning, not all audio companies have updated their software to work with this machine. I know when I first got an M1 machine, Universal Audio did not have drivers for this machine, or the M1 machine, so I ended up not being able to use my Universal Audio stuff. So if you are an audio person, or you have any kind of specialized hardware that you need to hook up to one of these, it really behooves you to do a little bit of research to find out if your hardware will play well with this. And honestly, if you're a software person as well, you need to check this out. Now, in terms of software, there is the Rosetta 2 software that Apple has put in here that will take pretty much any software that had worked with the previous Macs, and it will make it work well with this Mac, but there are some hiccups here and there. The process is not complete. So again, make sure that your software and your hardware are both compatible with the M1 machines. A quick Google trip to the website of whatever hardware you have will tell the tale, and then you won't have any kind of surprises if you come home with one of these and then suddenly something doesn't work. Those are the growing pains that exist. Usually people wait for Generation 2 if they're using machines like this professionally. So your mileage may vary. Using this machine is, it's actually so seamless and so easy that it just, you don't notice programs starting, you don't notice web pages loading, you just don't notice anything. It is a very seamless process. In many ways, like I said, this computer is boring in the sense that it It does everything well. It isn't challenging to use in any way, shape, or form. It is very, very competent. And it's competent in a way that a lot of other computers wouldn't have been in days before. Now, it used to be that the base models of, say, the MacBook Air or the iMac or something like that would have had less powerful chips, and then you would have had to pay more to get the more powerful chips, and you know, so there was always a choice to make. You know, do I pay a little bit more and get a more powerful machine, or will I get by with the machine that's a little bit cheaper? And with the M1 iMac, other than the fact that there is some significant hardware differences in terms of fans and stuff with the base model of the iMac, the middle range iMac will be more computer than 99% of everybody will ever need. So there's no more sort of comparison shopping between computers. It's just, this is the $14.99 version, get that and be done with it. Apple's done something interesting. They have really sort of like leveled the playing field in their computer lineup, where they have several different models of computers that all have basically the same features and internals, and you can now choose, do I want a laptop? Do I want a desktop? Do I want an iPad? What do I want? Now, the iPad is a little bit different story because it's not a computer, but it does have the same internal hardware for the most part. And gone are the days when you have to make that choice of like, well, I'll get the i3 or the i5 chip instead of the i7 because, you know, this, that, or the other thing. What you do lose in this, no user upgradability whatsoever. If you were somebody who worked with an external GPU to get more graphics power, that doesn't work at this point, and I don't know if it ever will. This is like the most competent iMac that Apple has ever put out. And while that's not exciting to talk about in any way, shape, or form, the iMac is now a computer that anybody could walk in off the street, buy, and go home and do pretty much whatever they wanted to do, unless they wanted to play games. And if you want to play games, you really have to buy a PC, because these things, you can't boot camp Windows off of these things anymore. I think there are people who have found ways around it. It's not as easy as it once was. These iMacs are computing appliances. They sit on your desk, you start them up, you do what you need to do, and it just does it. No muss, no fuss, no anything like that. It just happens. So if that's what you're looking for in a computer experience, at a really decent price, say with the mid-range model starting at $14.99, it's hard not to recommend this iMac to people who just want a very basic, solid computing experience. Now, if you need more bells and whistles, or if you need more power, of course, those new models are going to come out over the course of the rest of this year or into next year. And there's always the PC route as well, if you're somebody who is amenable to that. For me, in this first week, my experience with the iMac has been unremarkable. It hasn't been bad, it hasn't been amazing, it just is. And maybe that's the highest praise and the greatest criticism that I can level at this thing, is that it is just a computer. And if that's what you're looking for, that's it right there. Thanks so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. Again, please consider subscribing, liking this video, sharing it with your friends, bell notifying yourself, all those kinds of things, because new videos coming out at least twice a week here on the Painfully Honest Tech channel, plus live streams twice a week, plus all different kinds of stuff. For all you folks who have been here before, thank you so much for coming back and being a part of the Painfully Honest community. I really do appreciate it. But until the next time, once again, my name's Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech so honest it hurts. Until the next time, I'm out.